Okay, awesome, awesome. Get anything you need, blankets, pillows, bolsters, blocks, um, small child if you want to lay on them, pet, whatever, however you want to do to prop yourself up as needed through class. And we're going to start seated. And if you want to pick your seat bones up a little bit, maybe fold a blanket and put it underneath the seat bones. And come to a comfortable seat. If you want your legs out long, you can do that. Totally up to you. We'll place one hand on our belly and one hand on our chest. And we'll allow our eyes to close. You take the beginning of this practice to kind of become settled, kind of arrive into the practice. So sometimes you actually have to like walk through the door and come in, but then other times it's just you have this like energy that's needs to kind of settle. Imagine a snow globe and you've shaken it all up and we're waiting for all the little flakes to fall down. And so those some of the flakes might take a while. They might not fall during this class. They might take, towards the end of class to all settle, but this is the start of allowing those little snowflakes to settle. You can imagine the inhale, that the breath is coming right from the sky through the top of the head and traveling all the way down. You're receiving, accepting. And on the exhale, it travels back up. So inhale, it comes in and grounds. Exhaling, it comes back up. So you can visualize that or imagine a color maybe, or like a mist or a fog or any kind of thing that makes sense to you. I like to think of it as a wave, kind of like an ocean wave. Actually, I think what I really think of it is this project we did when I was in first grade. It was a bottle with water and oil and food coloring in it, and it made these waves. And I kind of picture that kind of going back and forth. It comes in and fills up and then swoops back. So whatever kind of visualization works for you. You can notice the body moving as we breathe. The belly moving in and out. The chest rising and falling. And take a moment to set an intention for this practice, or say an affirmation, or dedicate the practice to someone. And we'll start by placing our right hand down on the floor next to us. And we're going to take the left arm up and over, taking a side stretch. We're going to hold this, not as long as some of the longer yin or restorative poses, but we're going to hold it for several breaths. So you can dangle your arm, you can point, straighten the arm. You want to keep that left hip down, so try not to kind of shift all the way over. As your body starts to open, maybe you can bring your forearm to the floor, or if you have blocks or bolster handy, you can prop yourself up that way. Taking it a little bit more relaxing. You can bring your gaze anywhere you want. If you want up towards the ceiling, if that's comfortable on your neck, do that. Facing down, somewhere in between. Your head can hang heavy, kind of against your right shoulder if you want. You can even prop your head up. On our next inhale, we'll move slowly back up to the center. Take a moment to let it sink in, and moving very slowly, we'll switch sides. So I'm actually going to switch which leg is crossed in front of the other first, only just to kind of do opposite of what I habitually do. So I always cross with my right foot closer to my groin. So now I'm doing the opposite. So we're going to place the left hand down on the floor. The right arm will come up and over. So you can have your arm straight, or you can let it kind of hang. You can rest your head on your shoulder or leave it up, totally up to you. Keeping that left hip or right hip down. And if you can go deeper, eventually go deeper. So notice any areas of tension. Maybe differences between the right side and the left side. Take just a couple more breaths here. And then we'll inhale, slowly come back up. Oh, so we'll walk our hands back. We can extend the legs out in front. Just taking a glimpse of my feet here in the camera. Like, oh great, it's dirty feet time, everybody. Getting there. Okay, you can bring your hands back, open up through the chest. You can rock your feet side to side. You can bounce the knees. You can take, so anytime we're doing kind of leg and compression, forward folds, things like that, you can always do the reverse of those. So like a reverse table, a reverse plank. It's one of my least favorite poses, reverse plank. Not sure why. We're going to take the legs wide. And again, propping up the seat bones a little bit help. So you take your feet as wide as is comfortable. We're going to sit up quite tall, and then we're going to start to hinge forward. So this is my hinge forward, not very hingy. So that's okay. That's all good. Not everybody is very flexible or super flexible. You can take your bolster, bring it around in front, kind of prop yourself up on it. If you use the harder, big purple bolsters or the heavier ones, you can place your forehead down. Now, if this is aggravating to the low back, think about raising the chest and then hinging forward, not necessarily about just rounding. So as soon as I put my head down, bring my chin to my chest, there's more strain on the low back. So keeping the chest lifted, it's also harder. So we're getting the stretch in here. We can close our eyes again. Anytime you're in these longer holds and you want to close your eyes and take some of the focus inward, definitely easier to notice kind of physical things or even balance things, postural things with the eyes closed. This morning in class, we drew these intention cards, or I drew it because I'm the only one with the cards. And the intention for today, so each card has an intention for the day. And the intention is I will listen to my heart. And I was thinking about that today. Like, when am I, well, first of all, what's the difference between listening to your heart and listening to your gut? I think to me, they're the same thing. Either that or I've stopped listening to my heart. Because things don't seem to feel like they originate from there. I have like the overthinking mind, which a lot of us have that. And then I have like the gut reactions or the knee jerk kind of, or the feelings. Take just a few more breaths here. If you're able to go deeper, you can try that. And then we'll come back up. I don't know if anything feels so good than coming out of the poses. You lean back onto your hands. You can bring the legs back together. Take your reverse table, reverse plank, any kind of bringing knees side to side. Okay, we're going to sit back up onto your blanket. Bring the bottoms of the feet together and the knees wide. You can place your bolster on top of your knees, pressing your knees down. We're going to hinge forward if that works for you. Again, you can prop yourself up with your bolster. Make it a little bit more relaxing. You can push your knees down. You can hold on to your feet, but we're not pulling ourselves down. You can just hold your feet because you want to hold your feet, but we're not yanking ourselves down. And if you can relax your jaw, relax your face. I was gonna say the skin on your face. And if at all possible, do some of the more challenging poses. If you can try to smile, or even faking, like just bringing a smile to your lips. Okay, we'll start to sit up here. Take any counter poses you need. Otherwise, we're going to bring the left leg back. So the front leg will be like kind of your pigeon leg, and the back leg, the left leg here, will also be bent. So it's not all the way behind us, like as in pigeon or swan, but they're both virtually 90 degrees. Now, the more close it is to 90-degree angle between your thigh and your shin, the more intense it will be. The closer your heels are to your seat and groin, the probably less intense it will be. But everybody's different. So you kind of work with you. And we're going to turn to face over the right knee. You have the option to stay here, kind of staying upright, or you can start to fold forward over that right knee. You also have the option to fold forward over the ankle or the shin. And always use a bolster or block or anything like that to keep yourself up if that's more comfortable. So you don't need to go all the way down to the floor. Now, if your foot starts to go numb or get a little tingly, you can wiggle the toes, you can move around a little bit. We'll start to come up using our hands to lift us up, our hands to walk us back to center. And we're going to bring the left leg back out in front of us. We'll extend both legs long now in front of us. Sitting up tall through the spine, flexing the feet back. So you're pointing your toes back towards your face. If it helps to press into the floor to lift, go ahead and do that. And we're going to start to slightly hinge forward, start to forward fold here. So I like to use my hands to kind of push myself forward. That also helps me to stay tall and not round. Or yeah, grab a strap. That's even better. You can place a strap around the balls of your feet, kind of pulling your chest forward. You can bend your knees as much as you need to. Okay, we'll start to come out. We're not going to hang out in that one for very long. Bring the arms back. Take any kind of counter pose you need. Hop the legs here, bounce them. And we'll move back. And if you want to try a different variation by having the feet further from you, so it's a long-legged butterfly. So you can take that variation. You can also do a block between your feet. That changes things. It's not quite as intense on the knees. And we'll forward fold here again. You don't have to forward fold. You don't have to do anything, actually. You can literally lay here for an hour and a half and just listen to me. You can mute me and just lay here and pretend you're listening. It's all good. I see head bobbing, so somebody's at least listening. So we won't do this one for a super long time either. We're just kind of neutralizing before we go back to the other side here. Using your hands, push ourselves back up to a seated position if you were folded forward. You bring the left heel in a little bit, so maybe it's 90 degrees if your legs were way out in front. We'll bring the right leg back. So again, they can be heels close to the body or a little bit further away, making a 90-degree angle between the calf and the thigh. You can stay upright. You can hinge forward over the foot, the shin, the knee, or twist to face away. So pick your variation if you want more twist. Take just a couple more breaths here. Again, start to press our hands into the floor and come back up to a seated position. Bring the hands behind you. Bring the legs out in front. And take some knee movements here. Bring them side to side. And we're going to move on to our backs. So our feet will be on the floor. We'll hug the knees in towards the chest and rock side to side. You can circle the knees. We'll place the feet flat on the floor here. And we're going to take a few minutes of, or moments probably, not minutes. One hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. Just checking in with the breath. We're gonna tuck the tailbone slightly so that your sacrum is on the floor and you're kind of taking the arch out of the low back. Take just a few breaths here. So we're pressing the low back into the floor, kind of taking out that arch. So keeping that low back into the floor, we're going to bring the right knee in towards the chest. You can take the left leg down long, resting it on the floor. If you have a strap, this is kind of a handy place to use it. That way there you don't have to actually use your arms. You can, well, you still have to use your arms, but well, you don't have to. You can actually put the strap behind you. But kind of just holding that knee in towards the chest, kind of minding that we're still keeping the low back into the floor. We're going to start to bring the right knee out to the right. Now you can hold the knee, or if you want to straighten the right leg, you can reach for the toe and straighten the leg. You can bring the right knee as much as you can out to the right. If you want to prop it up on a block or the bolster, you can do that. And then we're going to bring the right knee across the body towards the left side. So you might want to move your hips to the right, let your knee fall to the left. And you can bring your gaze over your right side. Now your left leg can be out straight, but you can also, if you want to try something a little different, you can bend the left leg and reach down with your right hand for your left foot. We'll be in this position for a few moments here. If you need to prop yourself up in any way to kind of take some of the effort out of the pose, These poses can be challenging, but if you can prop yourself up in a way where you don't actually have to grip with your muscles, that's actually better. If everything tightens because you have to hold yourself up from falling over, not a lot of benefit to that. Not for this practice anyway. If you have your left foot in your right hand, you're going to release your left foot, lengthen that leg down long, and start to roll back onto your back. Place both feet on the floor, move your hips back to the center. Take any kind of movements that you need, maybe bring the knees up again for another squeeze. Rock side to side. Okay, feet flat on the floor again, knees are bent. We're tilting that pelvis again so that we take the arch out of the low back. Taking a couple breaths here before we switch to the other side. Hug that left knee in now towards the chest. And lengthen the right leg down long. If you need to make some space, you can bring the left knee towards the left armpit, or if you're fine with it, right in the center, or up the left side, that's fine. Just hugging it in towards the chest. I'm going to bring the left knee out to the left now. And if you have a block or a bolster to prop it up to help, you can. If you can reach the big toe on the left side, you can extend that left leg. Just another breath or two here. And we'll start to bring the left knee over towards the right side of the body. So I like to move my hips to the left and to make some room here and bring the left knee over towards the right side. Again, a block or bolster, the pillow, cushion, something underneath that knee really does help. You can bend the right leg, reach down with the left hand and grab that right foot. If you can't do it at the moment, maybe you can do it after a few breaths here. You can use your strap to get your foot. You know, one side might feel easier than the other. We'll take a few more breaths here on this side. If you have a hold on your right foot, you're going to release that. Stretch your right leg out long. Start to roll back into the middle of your mat. You can hug your knees in towards the chest again, rocking across the spine. Circling the knees is nice because you get into the hips and then up into the back. Now we're going to lengthen the legs, both legs, down long. Back of the head on the floor. I'm going to, again, tilt the pelvis slightly so we're pressing the sacrum into the floor. So we're not rounding or arching, pressing the belly out. We're drawing the belly in so that our sacrum is pressing into the floor. We'll take just a few breaths here. Okay, we'll raise the right arm overhead. Bend your left leg so that your left foot is on the floor and roll yourself over. And then if you're like me, you just rolled yourself off the mat, so you have to work your way back. I'm going to go into Sphinx pose. So we have our elbows underneath the knees. Yeah, that'll work. The elbows underneath the shoulders. If you want a less less intense variation, you can bring your elbows more forward, place your forehead on your hands for baby crocodile, or anywhere in between. Okay, we'll lower ourselves down a little bit and we'll bring the left knee alongside the body, taking a side bend if you want, so you can bring your left knee towards your left elbow and vice versa. Kind of lengthening the right side of the body. Sending your breath up and down the right side. We're going to start to move back to the center of our mat and move the left leg back to meet the right. But we're going to still keep that left knee bent. And see if you can reach back and grab your left foot or left toe, left pant leg. If you can't, you can grab a strap. We're just pulling the heel towards the hips here. Okay, we'll release the left foot. Move back into your Sphinx pose or a seal pose, so your arms can be extended, so straightened out in front. So that can be one variation. You can put a block or bolster underneath your arms. You can also bend both knees. Adding a lot more compression to the back. So you can do this, or you can stay the way you were, or go down to baby crocodile. There's no prize for killing yourself in this class, or any class. Kind of focusing now on the breath, taking long, full inhales and complete exhales. Take 3 more full breaths here. And then if your knees are bent, you can straighten them. If you're on a prop, you can start to move that out of the way. You can rock your hips side to side. And then we're eventually going to bring the right knee up alongside the body. Right knee comes up alongside the body. And then the right elbow comes towards it. You can rest your head down on your arms. Start to bring that right leg back to meet the left. Move yourself back into the middle of your mat. And then we're going to bend the right knee, reaching back for that right foot. You can grab a strap if you need one. Just a couple more breaths here on this side. We'll release that right foot. Set it back down onto the floor. You can rock your hips side to side. Now we're going to grab a bolster or cushion if you have one. And I'm going to give several options here. So you can just lay across your bolster on your belly. So your belly button, this area here between your upper hips and your lower chest, that area is covered by the bolster. Siri thought I was talking to her. Place your abdomen here. So that's one choice. Another option, if you don't mind the compression in the knees, you can turn your bolster the other way, bring your heels or your toes together and take a supported child's pose. And final variation, if you want to get into the inner thigh area, you can do a supported full frog. So knees go wide, your heels are directly behind your knees. And then you can lower down on the bolster. So either way, your chest and belly, low back are supported over this bolster here. You can always use a block or whatever underneath it too to kind of raise it up even more. So fun fact, actually, child's pose over the bolster is like a supported tadpole, and the frog has the feet wide. So it's the same thing with the knees, but just the feet being wide kind of changes the intensity. Do a little pranayama here in this position. So inhaling for the count of 4, pausing for up to the count of 4, exhaling for the count of 4, and then pausing again. So the pause can be anywhere up to the same amount of time that you are actually inhaling or exhaling. So to start, you would inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. So like that. You can continue on your own. If you're feeling anxious about the pranayama, you can just leave it out or shorten any of the breaths or lengthen them, depending on, what part of it makes you anxious. Starting out in pranayama, sometimes I feel a little bit claustrophobic, or the feeling like I'm not getting enough air. Takes me a little while to get into it. Take just a couple more breaths here on this side, this position. So if your legs are wide, you're going to start to bring your knees together. We're going to move into a hands and knees position. So take your time. If you're, I forgot where I was going with that. You're going to come into a hands and knees. You can take a few cat and cows and kind of take a side bend. You can circle the hips, bring the hips towards the heels and around. And switch directions. And then hopefully you still have your bolster handy. You can bring your bolster alongside the right thigh here. And then you can turn so that each hand is on each side of the bolster, and you can lay down on top of the bolster. Now you can also use a block underneath the far end of the bolster to create this little recliner here. Most of us have done this in class with me. So that's a variation or option. You can turn your head to face your knees, or if you want to increase the stretch and your neck is okay with it, you can face your head away from your knees. And then partway through, we'll turn our head the opposite way if it's turned away from the knees. And we're still trying to take full breaths here, even with the twist. If your head is turned to the right or away from your knees, you can turn it to the left to face the direction that your knees are pointed. Okay, we'll start to use our hands, push ourselves back up into our tabletop. You can take some kind of curves to the side. You can take cat and cow. If down dog is your jam and you want a down dog, you can go ahead and do that. We're eventually going to bring our opposite hip alongside the bolster here with the knees pointing away, and then we can turn our head so that we're looking away from the direction of the knees if that's comfortable on the neck. If it's not, then you can knees and face in the same direction. Now, if you're facing away from your knees, you can turn your head to face the direction that your knees are pointed. Okay, we're going to come out of this twist, come back into your tabletop, moving through cat and cow. Now you can keep your bolster and your block the way they are if you're using that and you want to use that for your heart opener at the end of class or your savasana. Take any kind of curves. If you want down dog or any kind of other movements, you can go ahead and take them. Now I have my bolster over top of a block, so it makes this little recliner, this thing on an angle here. Now you can use a rolled up blanket and just place it between the shoulder blades and lay back down. You can place it like up and down between the shoulder blades, or you can place it right underneath the shoulder blades, so it's crossways on your mat. Or you could do this, or any other pose you want to do at the end of class here. If you're using the recliner that I have here, you place your hips right up alongside it and then lower down. So it creates this kind of gentle heart opener. It's a little back bend in the lower back. So my lower back is a little bit arched. My chest can be open. You can stay here. Your knees can be bent, legs, ankles crossed, anything like that, or they can be out straight. And like I said, you can stay here or you can do a couple moments here and then move into your final relaxation pose. So totally up to you. So taking just a couple more breaths here in your heart opener. So just doing the final relaxation part. Getting dropped off the internet here. We can take a few more breaths here and get back up into a seated position. Moving up into a seat, and we'll close the class. So we'll bring our hands to our heart. We'll hurry up and finish class before I get in. So we'll thank ourselves for being here and practicing together. May we all feel loved, grateful, and connected. And may we have the strength and courage to overcome any obstacles before us. From my heart to your heart, peace and namaste. Thank you for joining me.